Dear friend, thank you for your everlasting support to my channel. Today we continue with the TOEFL speaking. We have speaking question type 4. We call them from general to specific. Also, we call them integrated question because we have two parts. We have reading an article and listening to a lecture. This style of speaking question comes in two parts, as we mentioned. The first part is a short article on an academic topic where a definition of a term or a concept being presented in 45 seconds. The second part is a lecture being presented by a professor, sometimes you call them a speaker, on the same reading topic of the article. The lecturer will include either two specific examples about the topic, or the lecturer might speak about two personal examples about the topic. The lecture could be about 45 seconds long. In some cases, the lecturer might give one example, but it will be supported by two clear details part, which might be like sort of cause and effect. Here is cause and effect, or a situation and a solution. Then we have to be sure we have two. If we have a cause, then you're going to give us effect, and also if they will have situation, they're going to give us a resolution, or as a first stage and second stage, or sometimes different style. The requirement is to combine the definition terms with the two ideas or examples have been given by the speaker. It's required to integrate the definition from the reading part with the examples and details being given by the speaker professor related to the definition. There will be 30 seconds to prepare the answer by integrating the definition with the notes being taken from the speaker's example and details. The 60 seconds response has to contain the definition being presented in the article and to be integrated with the example or opinions of the speaker as a one part of speaking. Let's continue. How to find the definition term. The definition can be found after the introduction, usually in the second sentences or in other part of the article. When the be verb is or sometimes we see this is known as, or this is called, then we could say this is referred to, or sometimes you could say this is named. And the definition has to be understood, and the details needed to be allocated in order to be integrated with the details provided by the recording tape. 4. We have two parts, article reading part, and then speaking. We call that. Taking notes in TOEFL speaking question 4. As we said, this question will be two parts. We have article, then we have speaking word from the record. From the article reading part, we have to find the topic, then the definition, and also we have to find details about the topic. Let's go for the topic. From the topic, we know it's about genetically modified foods. Then the definition, we could say here, is also it's not easy to find. And then we have to look for some clue. For example, here we said we have to look for beaver, or sometimes we say it's called, or it's named, or it's defined as. Let's look here. GM foods are, if we look here, we have a little clue. Then we say are products which a selected character is being introduced into its DNA by genetic engineering method in order to alter and improve the produce quality and quantity. Then we look at it, we see here we have a definition for the GM foods. Then we look for details. GM food are commercially started, commercially sell, so, oh my God, commercially sell start. As we said, this question 4 we have two parts. We have article reading part and speaking professor lecture. Then from the article, we have to find the topic and the definition and also some details about the topic we have it. For example, the topic we have genetically modified foods. Definition, we have to find the definition in order to continue. For example, definition here we have GM foods or products. When we see here the beaver, maybe it's going to give us clue regarding the definition. Or products which a selected character is being introduced into its DNA by genetic engineering methods in order to alter and improve the produce quality and quantity. Now we have the definition, then we have to look for more details. Details, GM food commercially sale started in 1994. The genetic modification targeted groups with high demand and which are more profitable for farmers and producers. Then from the speaker lecture, the procedure of alteration and introducing of the DNA of the selected breeding organism which has the desired characters is being transferred into the new organism using a technique called genetic manipulation. The advance of the technology, particularly in the genetic techniques, in the recent year made possibility of alteration in genes and the DNA in many products that accept a carrier of a desired DNA and genes of a selected trait to be transferred into their characters. This is we have information. As we said it, try your best. Tips, make a note about the definition and the important details from the article. Number 2, make notes about the examples and opinion being presented by the speaker. Number 3, no opinion is permitted in TOEFL speaking question 4. We have to be very careful. This is a very important point. Number 4, have a conclusion for the response if there is a time left at the end of your response. Let's go for strategy. From the reading article. From the article, the first step is to find the topic being presented in the article. Number 2, write the definition of the term being discussed and use the term defined in your response. Number 3, search for the first point being tackled by the article. Write it down with some details. Number 4, write the second point being stressed by the article with some details to support the point being made. It's important to divide your time, divide the 60 seconds of your response into 20 seconds for the definition and the details from the reading article. That's why you have to mention it here. The other 20 seconds for the first example supporting the definition with details from the speaking, or sometimes we say from the lecture. The last 20 seconds for the second example supporting the definition with details from the speaking, sometimes in the lecture, by the professor. Number 6, if you have more time, use it to find more points with more detail supporting the points. Number 7, integrate the examples from the article and lecture into your responding answer. Number 8, use transition and conjunction to connect your sentences to appear as one paragraph, or sometimes we say an essay, to be comprehended by the reader. Number 9, paraphrase the ideas of the reading and the lecture into your own words. You have to be very careful here. Then we say you have to make in your own idea. Let's go to from the lecture how we take notes. From the lecture presented by the professor, write first example being mentioned by the lecturer and support the examples by details from the lecturer's speech. Number 2, write second example being mentioned by the speaker and support the example by details from the lecturer's speech. Number 3, conclude your response by summing up the main points being presented by the lecturer in the speaking part. Combine the reading part with the presented lecture by the speaker. Having an effective note will assist you in your reading. For example, from the article, then we could mention it all of this way from top. Useful phrases to be used when answering the TOEFL speaking question 4. For example, you could say, the reading defines that, then that was, then have defined according to the reading part. The speaker provides a specific example to explain or illustrated that the professor presented a personal example in regards the defined term of. Then to wrap up or to summarize or in conclusion of the speaking, this example is a clear evidence of. This is undoubted example illustrating the term of. When we make notes from the example, from the reading part, and also from the lecture presented by the speaker, speaking part. Topic, we have modification of the person's behavior. From the article, we could find it's mentioned that a person might alter his or her behavior if the person is aware of that. The consequences of his or her actions might end in a result that he or she is not favoring it. This you could find it at the top part of the reading article or somewhere. Then the second part you could find it. The article has pointed out that a positive result leads the person to repeat that behavior, while negative results will lead not to redo that certain behavior. Maybe you could find in the middle or on the end part of the reading part. Let's go from the speaking part. The lecture presented by a speaker. Example, a child starts to go to school. The speaker mentioned that the child doesn't know the school rules, so he or she runs around and not obeying the rules. This is from the first part. Then this child gets punished by the teacher, who is acknowledging the young student that he or she is only allowed to play outside the class. Then we have to find some other detail to support this point. The child learns that this action is one of bad behaviors, that he or she has to avoid it. Then we have to support it by other details from the speaking when we listen to. In another situation, the student learns that raising a hand and paying attention to the teacher is a welcomed behavior. Then this is from the second part, if we remember. Then receiving an encouragement or a reward or rewarded by the teacher, the student learns that the behavior is good and accepted by the others. Then we have to support it by other details. Then from these positive behaviors, the child learns to repeat the reward behaviors and avoiding the bad behavior, getting him or her in trouble. Then we have to find some support to support it in more detail. Thank you very much for listening.